Welcome to Destination Linux, the open source New Year's bash kicking off 2026 with fireworks, fresh installs, and zero proprietary hangovers. I'm your host this week, Jill, popping the champagne on another year of Linux domination from my vintage PC command center. Ryan, our ever reliable co-pilot, ready to ring in the new year with distro upgrades, new PC builds, and security madness. And making a legendary comeback, and someone I have never hosted a Destination Linux episode with, our special guest and former host and longtime family member of the show, Zeb. Yay!
And it's fantastic to be back, and I'm really pleased to be able to do a show with Jill and you again, Ryan. It's amazing.
Yay!
Absolutely amazing.
You don't know how excited I've been to have you back on the show. For those who are newer, you'd have to go back about 5 or 6 years. And we've had a lot of hosts that came and things happened in life and had to go and, life and all of that. But Zeb was one of the ones that launched in the very early stages with us, and we couldn't have done it without him. And he is such a staple of this show and such a friend. And I am beyond happy to have you back on this show, Zeb.
Yes.
Just so excited.
It's great to be back.
Yay. So Zeb is, as Ryan was saying, one of the original Destination Linux captains, back on deck after years away to help us toast the community that keeps the ship flying. This week, we're diving into the charm of pixelated retro games that still crush it on Linux, despite what Zeb would like.
I'll get you for this, Ryan.
Catching up on your community feedback, sharing war stories from setting up Nextcloud over the holiday break, and plenty more to get 2026 started right. So raise a glass or your favorite terminal, sync your repos, and remember, the best way to predict the future of open source is to build it together. Happy New Year. This is Destination Linux.
So before we get into community feedback, Jill, we've been talking about going back to open source tools to kind of do this show. And I know everybody, a lot of the stuff we do is already open source, but I know that, a lot of times people were like, hey, open source is always the better option. And in some cases, though, it may be the better option, but it's not always the easiest to get set up correctly or right the first time, depending on your skill level. And mine, as Zeb remembers, is still after 5 years low. But one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to switch to Nextcloud. Now, we were already using an open source app, HackMD, to do a lot of our notes and stuff. But there's so many cool things in Nextcloud. We can do finance tracking in Nextcloud. We can do chats. We can do documents. We can do business documents. We can do all kinds of stuff within Nextcloud. So Jill was like, hey, Ryan, let's do a Nextcloud server.
Yeah.
But do you think Jill said, I'll go set up the server? Because it probably would have been done right. No, she just had the suggestion and I had to go do. So I go in there to the fantastic DigitalOcean. I click launch the droplet. Everything works perfectly. DigitalOcean's such a dream in that way.
Yeah.
Get it kicked off, get it logged in, secure the thing, and then get logins, get that sent out. Put the first show notes for this show, for Zeb's return to this show in there. Send a link to Jill and Zeb. And they got in right away and everything worked. And so that's the rest of the story.
No.
No?
There were a few little hiccups, like we had to figure out how we can share notes to someone who doesn't have an account with Nextcloud. So once we figured that out, I actually did some research online and then sent it to Ryan, and he figured that out.
Well, I did lots of research. I did lots of resetting of the server. This particular one is there are certain areas of Nextcloud that you can share external links with.
Yeah.
And certain areas that you probably have to do additional settings to share with, but are not by default, even if you have in the administrator settings set that you can share. And so when I found out, when I was going through a bunch of different troubleshooting guides, one was like, make sure you're sharing from this section of Nextcloud. And I was like, oh, no, it can't be that easy. And just today, the day of the show, I figured it out and got Zeb actual notes outside of a hard copy. So,
yeah.
Open source, Nextcloud's amazing. And open source has some amazing features, but that doesn't always mean the initial setup is simple. And doesn't mean it is with proprietary either, frankly. It's not always simple, but
I'm happy to add that my only input into this whole scenario was to say back to Ryan on every attempt, next.
Yeah.
Not working. Next. Yeah. Not working. Next. Try again, Ryan.
So long story short, we had played with Nextcloud before on Destination Linux several times, and we love the notes, doing the show notes on it. It was really well done. So that was one of the reasons why we chose it. Also, I've started switching my notes from Simple Note over to the Notes app on Nextcloud. And that's been really nice. And I was thinking that me and Ryan also could do some of our meetings with the Talk app and chat too. That would be fun.
There's going to be all kinds of cool stuff we're going to be doing in 2026 and a lot more community involvement stuff as well. So stay tuned. Things will break though, because Jill just tells me what to do. She doesn't go help me do it. That's what I'm teasing. Jill's done a ton of stuff which we'll get into. All right, let's get into our feedback. It comes from Jim, who has this to say: you guys really got me thinking about my AI usage. Now, what Jim's talking about is we've had a couple of episodes where we've been having some fun talking about all the GPU, everybody's energy bills going up, all the water consumption is going up, GPUs, RAM, SSDs now cost $1 bajillion a piece. And when you look at your AI usage, how many times are you actually utilizing all of that power and GPUs for something important? And a lot of times it's shoved down our throat. Like you don't have a choice. Every time you browse something, every time you open something, there's some AI element trying to feed you some answer to it. And it's like, I don't really need an answer to, what peanuts are local to my area from AI. I can just look at a browser and find that type of thing, So that's what they're referring to. They go on to say, it has made me lazy to a degree as far as note taking. Way back when the pre-Google days, I had notebooks with tabs. When I figured something out, I wrote it down. Otherwise, I'd have to spend a bunch of time researching it again. Also, by writing it down, I learned it a little better. Now, if I need help with the command syntax, or if I forget that SQL query I used last week, I just pull up ChatGPT or Gemini and ask it. Maybe I need to start writing stuff down again, even if it's in a note-taking app. Thanks for the perspective. And then we'll get to the PS in a second here. They have a great PS. So, as far as note-taking apps, I have a video out there on Notes Nook, which is my current favorite note-taking app. And one of the things that I require in a note-taking app is that it can work across all of my devices. So I don't care where I'm at. If I'm on my phone, if I'm on Linux, if I'm on Mac, if I'm anywhere, I want the Note app to have an app for it so I can pull up my notes. And so Notes Nook is fantastic for that, and it syncs things. But I agree with you. There's been a time where I've also been using the Remarkable Remarkable like a device, because there's some generic versions that aren't quite as expensive, because I noticed that I actually learn things and remember things better when I'm physically writing. So typing's one thing that helps. But when I'm physically writing, there's a lot of studies in this, and I think we've talked about this in prior shows that talk about when you're physically writing, it actually triggers a lot more of your memory there. So there's just a lot of advantages to writing things down. So I think that's a good idea. And I don't know what we can get away from this AI stuff, though, Jim. Like when you look at it, they call it micro slop now. That's the buzzword. It's called micro slop because Microsoft is sticking it everywhere. They've got AI prompting. And then, like I said, every browser, every search engine, everything's just throwing AI into everything, and you can't get away from it. But I agree with you. I think that in a lot of ways, if you're trying to learn the code and things, it's easy just to go into Gemini and go, help me fix this code. But then you're not learning as much about actually troubleshooting, which when I look back, even when it came to building computers, when my dad taught me that at a really young age, building a computer was never the hard part. The hard part was when things went wrong and you were sitting there trying to diagnose a computer that wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. And those are the lessons that were the most valuable. And a lot of times those lessons were my dad just giving me a little hint, like, I don't know, check the back of the power supply. The switch may be on 110 instead of 220.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give me all those details, but he'd be like, check the back of the power supply. Are you sure it's getting the right voltage? You'd give me little hints and I'd be sitting there working. But when I would get it, that endorphin rush, that feeling of accomplishment was something really special. And in some ways, AI takes that away because it just gives you the answer. And it becomes this thing where we all just become so dependent on it. Can we even do our jobs without it anymore? Like, that's a scary thought. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right, because I mean, your remembrance then of your father teaching you how to build computers takes me back to one of my first jobs when we were still working on the old Unix machines, and we were having to do daily tasks to copy stuff across left, right, and centre. And for 6 months, I was sitting there manually doing these tasks, and then after I'd passed my probation, the top developer there went, oh, by the way, if you just run this script, it does all that for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Why didn't you? He said, well, if it breaks, you now know where to look. If it breaks, if I gave you that script from day one, all I would get is phone calls from you when I'm in bed because I'm on the late shift and you're on the early shift saying, how do I fix this? It's not working. Right. And you're right. Yeah. That physically,
and you learned it the hard way, so you knew every contingency for error.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's spot on, Zeb. I wonder how this generation, the generation that's already been addicted to phones, is going to fare when you can get an answer to everything through AI and you no longer have to do any research. And is that really going to help society? Because the thought would be now you could spend your brain power on something more important, but I don't know that we ever get to the more important thing because
no, they won't. And I think the problem with AI for the younger generation is that they don't question, is it right? Oh, it must be right.
Yeah,
it must be right. I got it from ChatGPT, or I got it from Gemini, or my Mac phone told me that's what it was.
That's the problem.
Zeb, not to put anybody on the spot in our community, but there was a discussion in our community in Discord, and they were talking about, there was a little bit of a disagreement on whether AI hallucinates any longer or not. And someone was very much on the side of saying that, it really doesn't hallucinate if you're prompting it correctly and stuff. And I get their point. Like, AI has gotten a lot better. So I don't think I understand where they're coming from in their argument, but I will tell you this. I work with the most expensive AI that's not even out there available to the public as part of my work. So I get to mess with stuff that is very, very advanced AI for very specific tooling and creation and other stuff. And it hallucinates all the time. Not when I say all the time, I want to say that it's not something you could reliably stick out there into the public to be a face of your customer, for a face for, your company to the customer, because it's that unreliable. Like, it will just do random things sometimes that it's not supposed to, regardless of the prompting being perfect or not. There are also times when AI is dead on, and is dead on, and in many, many cases it's correct. But you're right, Zeb, that you can't trust something that will make something up to please you depending on how you ask the question. And that is why AI people need to, yes, you can use it. Yes, it can save you lots of time. but we've got to find this balance with it. And I don't think we're there yet as a society. I don't think we quite know how this thing's going to be used or useful. And Microsoft certainly doesn't know because they're just plopping it in every stupid thing that they can. So, anyways, probably a bigger discussion and a whole show on its own. But the thing I want to get to is Jim says, P.S. Jill, Wayland is trash. What do you think about that, Jill?
It's not trash, but it has issues. Yes.
How dare you argue with our community? See, Jill, you all think Jill's perfect, but me, I never argue with you guys. I would never do that. But Jill here is arguing with our community. No, they go on to say, love you guys. Thanks for another great show. Looking forward to what you have in store for 2026. Fantastic feedback. We're going to get into your Wayland topic because...
Yeah.
100%, because I come from a slightly more unique perspective in that I haven't really used Linux since I last left the show in January 2020. So I've had a 4 or 5 year hiatus of not having to deal with these complicated things. And when I came back, my first initial reaction was, wow, this thing works. It never worked before. This is really good. And then I started getting deeper into it as I was trying to mimic my workflow that I had on the W word that we're not supposed to use. So here I am on Windows, working the way I want to use, and then I come to Linux, and I can only give it my experience from my use case. And I still feel that it's not quite ready. It's probably 200 or 300% better than it was than we last time that we talked about it, but I still have my doubts. And I've recently had a small bout of distro hopping. You'd probably know what that's all about as well, Ryan.
Yeah, I know that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I've used Ubuntu and Mint and Zorin and Pop OS and Manjaro and Elementary and CachyOS and Nabara and Bazite. I finally decided to bite the bullet with an immutable. And the only one to survive the usual Zeb next was Bazite. And that really, really surprised me no end. And if I may, I'll give you a classic example of why Linux is so inconsistent across multiple distros, and how they handle scaling and multi-monitor setups and the stuff, especially under Wayland. And I think for me, the biggest difference is Wayland gives you Wayland gives you scaling where Windows allows you to keep the scale that you've set your screen at, but you can zoom in on the text. And that was the problem I was having. My setup here, for anybody who doesn't know, is I've got a 49-inch widescreen Samsung that I split into two screens by feeding it two DP cables. So natively, they're both 1440p. And I recently bought a brand new 120 hertz 4K monitor that I have on the right, which I now use for gaming. Now, under Windows, I can just tell the game to use that monitor and off it goes and everything's fine. And under Bazite, everything's fine. But when I was recently using Manjaro, and I know it could be the game that's causing the problem, but I know this game, World of Warships, really, really well. I've been playing it for 6 years, and I know how to edit and manipulate the XML files. So why does one distro do as it's told, and another distro completely ignores what I've asked it to do? So I play it on my primary monitor, which is set to 3840 by 2160. So where and why is it getting a setting of 5120 by 2880?
That's nice. 5K. Woo.
And it's not just Manjaro that's doing this with Wayland. Why is it only doubling the height and not the width?
And not the width, yeah.
Where is it getting those dimensions from when the display manager in Linux shows them correctly? And that's the thing that's confusing me the most at the moment.
So, you know what's interesting? Jim saying Jill Wayland is trash. So I don't think Wayland is trash, but, and there's a big but here, I think back to any time there's been a change in Linux, like when we went from Pulse to Pipewire, people complained. Why are we switching? Why do we need to change? Blah, blah, blah. And I always take the same stance that I always take, which is if it's better, who cares? Let's go. I'm ready to go. I am not someone who's going to be stuck in the past and nostalgia and be like, but I remember the day, because, we need new things in Linux sometimes. And Pipewire was such an enhancement. Was it perfect out of the box? No, I remember there were a couple people would send messages about certain use cases that didn't work when everybody transitioned. But 99.9% of the people not only were able to do what they didn't even know they were on Pipewire that had switched over, but the people who were doing advanced audio, like back in the day, we were piping audio from different applications and stuff. It was just a dream. Like all of a sudden, we had a professional audio platform in Linux. So now let's take that to Wayland. So now we've got this new display manager. It's got all these fancy things they're talking about. It's been in development for a long time, but hey, this is a very advanced part of the system. And so it's going to take some time. So I'm fine with the time too, but everybody starts moving over to Wayland, and we do this in Linux. I've noticed the developers will do this, because if they don't, everyone will stay on the old thing forever. So you kind of gotta push people off the cliff a little bit, give them a little boost, like, hey, it's time to move on. Let's go over to Wayland. The problem with Wayland is it's not a one-to-one replacement. So I feel like I'm losing features in Wayland. And not only that, I'm not even getting the same features I had on X11. So I'm losing. I'm not only not gaining features, but I don't even have parity with what was lost. And so, yes, things have gotten a lot better. OBS, you can record screens now, right? When we started doing Wayland, you couldn't even get OBS to record a screen. In gaming, most of the games I launch and play can play and launch in Wayland.
Yeah.
With that said, if you've been watching my videos recently, you'll notice that when I'm uploading videos and things in YouTube, when I'm recording them, there are artifacts that are kind of happening on the screen from time to time as it's recording. There's little bugs and glitches and things happening with the OBS. And that's all because of Wayland stuff. And when I go into X and I record my videos, I have none of that. Now that's utilizing AMD. So we're utilizing open source. I'm not using NVIDIA's proprietary stuff or anything like that. Maybe it would be better if I did. I don't know. But my point is that this is not an anti-Wayland thing. I have no skin in this game. If the future's Wayland, great. I think the problem is that Wayland hasn't gotten the attention to not only become in parity with X, but become superior. Now, I know somebody's going to leave a comment about, well, in Wayland, you could do this and you couldn't do that in X. I'm looking at the whole package here. As a whole, the whole package is not on par with what we've lost. Now, does that mean we all go back to X? No. But
No.
I do think that Wayland may not be the final answer. Maybe there's somebody else who's going to. Yeah, there may be something that gets created in between. There may be, it may be the transition tool in between X Wayland, and then there's the third one that actually becomes the official replacements that's better. But if Wayland doesn't pick up its development cycle and actually become on par with X, I think that a lot more people are going to be writing us saying Wayland sucks.
I agree a lot of what you've said there, but let's also not forget that Wayland is a little puppy compared with X11. I mean, X11 has been there for 40 years or something.
Yeah,
didn't they just have a birthday?
We used it on Unix. Yeah,
and Wayland is what, 9 or 10 years old now, Jill?
Yeah,
yeah,
correct.
So I'm going to go back to everything I used to say on the old show, and I'm not worried about what you bring out, Linux developer. Just remember the poor idiot guy who can't go in and edit all these XML. I want point and click. And for me, the single thing that's missing with Wayland at the moment is a point and click facility that allows you to change stuff easier. If I can find a distribution that's still using X11, I tend not to have any problems. But all of those ones that have swapped over to Wayland now, I don't know how to do on Wayland because I can't find an idiot guide. All of the guides that are written by experts assume you know XYZ. So they don't bother to tell you what XYZ is. Please, if you take one thing from this discussion, remember the poor guy who doesn't want to know the ins and outs of programming. And if Linux wants to become a bigger community for the general wide public, they don't want to learn that stuff either. They just want it to work. And if it doesn't, they want to be able to click a button and choose their options. I know it's not the way you guys might not want to go. But if you don't, then we're always going to be a niche OS and not get anywhere near a good market share.
It's really hard to criticize open source because a lot of people are doing this stuff voluntarily, although Wayland has a lot of corporate backing. So I don't feel as bad. But with that being said, I as Zeb mentioned, I think there's an argument to say, hey, X has had 40 years. Wayland's only had 8. But at times I kind of go back to the old car manufacturing. Maybe the original car took 30 years to create, and now we can make, 50 in an hour on an assembly line. Like, we should have learned a lot from X, meaning we shouldn't need a full 40-year ramp up to become on par with what X is bringing. With that being said, I think even in my discussion right now, what is going through my head is, Ryan, you're trying to oversimplify probably one of the most complex parts outside of the kernel of all of the operating system. And so, in fairness, I humbly submit that I don't even pretend to understand how difficult creating a new system like this is, and give them the benefit of the doubt that it can get there. I just think that before people will start opening their arms to it, much like they did Pipewire, you heard people complain for like 5 seconds and then they're like, oh crap, this is actually better. We're not there yet with Wayland. We're not close there.
Well, harking back slightly to the previous topic as well, I hope that the Wayland developers haven't fallen into the trap that Microsoft have, because there was a recent article that I read that somewhere between 30 and 40% of the new Microsoft code that's coming out is AI slop. And there's no
microslop.
Microslop. And there's no human being double checking it. They just assume that because it's out there in the AI world, it knows what it's talking about. And it's a great tool for fixing stuff that when you read through it should work. But if no one's reading through it because they want to save a few bucks and just chuck this thing out, it's not going to work as well as it would do if proper humans worked on the code and tested it properly. And when they're doing some testing, bring some beginner users in. Don't just ask your developer next to it, does this work? Because he's just going to go in and go, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, Zeb, you can hire Zeb. 100,000 pounds an hour. 100,000 pounds an hour. He used to do professional software testing, by the way, so he's perfect for this. 100,000 pounds an hour, which I think equates to $1 American dollar an hour. So that's amazing. You can get Zeb to help test your stuff.
And you missed the chance to say 100,000 squiddles.
Squiddles, yeah, the squiddles. I forgot the type of money you use there in the UK is squiddles. If you want to send in your feedback, look, Jim, amazing questions, comments, and that fun little PS at the end got us talking for 27 minutes. So if this is what makes the community fantastic, and one of the reasons why we absolutely love you guys. So send in your comments. There's a new link here. Comments at destinationlinux.net. That's comments at destinationlinux.net. So send your comments there. Now, in fact, if you've sent us feedback and it's not been read on the show yet, and you're like, when are those idiots going to read my feedback? Or maybe it's more like, when is that idiot Ryan going to read my feedback? Resend it, because we've changed email services and things recently, and we may have missed it. So comments at destinationlinux.net. Send in your feedback, become part of the show, and we have all kinds of interesting topics in there. As Linux users, we know what's up. Security is non-negotiable, but with threats getting smarter, your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. Traditional agents, they can slow you down and leave blind spots. It's time for a smarter approach. That's why Destination Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security, revolutionary agentless platform designed for Linux. Go to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy. And they also, for your business, have a free trial to go on right now. And listen, with all of the security threats happening, with all the micro slop happening out there, it could not be a better time to go check out Sandfly. Timothy Lisko of DigitalOcean says Sandfly is one of the most exciting pieces of security tech that they've seen, where they're not only excited to be a customer, but also offer an integrated solution to our customers through the DigitalOcean marketplace. This technology addresses Linux security in a really novel and compelling way. DigitalOcean, one of the things that's just so amazing about it is its uptime. And absolutely one of the most amazing platforms, Jill, it was one click through the marketplace to launch a Nextcloud.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most, when you think about the advancement of having Office, chat, finances, all that stuff, all this ability to share and password protect and everything in Nextcloud, and you can launch it in DigitalOcean with a single click from a button, it's just unbelievable. And then you could do the same thing with Sandfly, which is going to not only detect but respond to security threats. Revolutionizes it. SSH key tracking, password auditing, drift detection, covers your threats from every angle, whether your systems are in the cloud, on-premise, embedded devices, all of them get covered. Sandfly ensures they're secure without the headaches of an agent-based solution where you're going to have to go install it on every machine, go update it on every machine, all of that stuff. You don't have to deal with that with Sandfly. Experience security that's not just effective, but gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting-edge protection.
And the home edition of Sandfly Security is now available. And to all our awesome listeners of Destination Linux, they have an incredible offer for you of 50% off if you use the discount code Destination50. Dive into the future of Linux security at destinationlinux.net/Sandfly. That's destinationlinux.net/SANDFLY and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy.
Now, Jill, we talked about Wayland, and we had a great conversation on that. And I love that this episode is now being themed around GPUs, the thing nobody can afford anymore.
Yeah.
But what did you find at CES that was interesting?
So NVIDIA is giving Linux some love. Maybe not with hardware or the being able to afford hardware, but with software. At this year's Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas this week. So last July, NVIDIA had announced their streaming platform GeForce NOW has an official app for the Steam Deck. And now NVIDIA has officially confirmed that a dedicated native Linux app for desktop is coming. And we were all hoping this would happen. And it has.
Yes.
It is coming. The app is scheduled to arrive in beta early this year of 2026. And NVIDIA stated the app will support Ubuntu 24.04 and later distributions. And the NVIDIA GeForce NOW application will allow us Linux users to play popular titles that are currently blocked on the platform by kernel-level anti-cheat, such as games from Epic, Activision, and EA. And I actually played Fortnite on GeForce NOW on my Steam Deck using the official app last July, and it worked extremely well, and the interface is really, really easy to use.
Whoa, you're a Fortnite player?
No, I'm actually not, but I wanted to play it because I could.
Oh, you wanted to just be like, I want to prove I can.
I wanted to test it.
So can you do some of the Fortnite dances, like the floss and all that?
No.
Come on, Jill.
In fact, I played the racing game with cars, and that was quite fun.
Oh yeah, they have it's like a Rocket League.
Rocket League, yeah.
It's like that thing Michael used to play, that one that's for 8-year-olds. Yeah, Rocket League. Yeah, that one.
So with GeForce Now, there is a free option that I use to test it, but it involves wait times and queues, shorter session lengths, and sometimes video ads before sessions, but it lets you play the game, so you can try it in the free mode. The premium plans like Performance for $9.99 a month US or Ultimate for $19.99 a month US offer, faster access with no queues, longer sessions, higher resolutions like 4K, ray tracing, and higher frame rates. But considering the cost of GPUs these days and the ability to play games that are blocked with kernel level anti-cheat on Linux, I think these are reasonably prices.
Well, isn't this the whole point, Jill? If you put on your little, hat of conspiracy theories here, there are some conspiracies out there that the whole, there's something called the paperclip theory that I just heard about today. And the paperclip theory was something about telling AI to gather as many paper clips as possible, and eventually it takes, it finds a way to accumulate all the paper clips until there's a shortage of paper clips. Something like that. I completely got it wrong, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
And the idea is that AI now is becoming so popular, and they're pushing it so hard that they don't want you to have anything that doesn't have AI in it. And so you won't have personal computing anymore. You're just going to have some edge device with very little RAM, and you're going to rent your GPU, and you're going to play your games through the cloud. And if you don't like it, too bad.
Yeah.
Because we need AI to be successful, because we've spent $1 trillion on it. $1 trillion. That's a real number. Look it up. $1 trillion. On AI. So but I get what you're saying, Jill. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here.
Yeah.
Well, my only question will be is, will NVIDIA Now last longer than Google Play's cloud gaming service did?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, it's not like Google Now didn't have enough money backing it.
I know. And that was sad because the games played really well on that.
I mean, but I guess the caveat of that is you've got to look back and say, well, how many other services that NVIDIA have brought out that they've since dropped? And compared with what Google did, it's minuscule.
I'm happy this service exists.
One's making money for them, though. So I think it's doing well.
I'm happy it exists, and it's been around well before this whole AI thing happened.
Exactly.
But I'm happy it exists, and I hope there's more out there, because without the competition, what's going to happen is the whole Netflix thing, where Netflix became the most popular, and then they're like, hey, we need to make more money, so let's add ads, and then let's raise the prices, and then let's do all this stuff. So I actually hate most software as a service online platforms because of this, that it all starts out fantastic, $4 a month, stream whatever you want, and then it just slowly bemes this thing that's no longer
more expensive.
More and more expensive, because they can't make enough money off of it, and you lose it. So if there's plenty of competition in this market, maybe it will be good for some. I hate the concept of, or I hate the theory. It seems to be coming true that RAM and everything's going to be so expensive that we can no longer have our own machines running our own things locally. But I don't know. It seems that we're going that way, at least right now.
Yeah. And this is nice for that person who can't afford a high-end machine.
I was just about to say,
play on old laptops, and that's what the beauty of Linux is to be able to, keep those computers out of the landfill. And this is a way for people to play games that don't have access.
And as long as you've got a good internet connection, you can have your potato laptop from 10 years ago and play the latest AAA games.
Potato laptop.
Yeah, and in fact, on this service, they're actually talking about how there's some really high-profile AAA titles coming, which I'm interested in. And one was 007 First Light, Resident Evil Requiem, Crimson Desert, and Active Matter. And those are going to be, big games, big hit games. So I was happy to hear those are coming to the platform. I'm looking forward to the 007 First Light.
That looked really, really good. I saw some trailers on that. But it didn't capture that 007. It's a very different take on 007. It's not the old games where you would try to trap your friends and blow them up with mines and the guns. And it was a constant troll fest when you'd have your friends over and play the 007. This one's more of like a realistic, hey, I'm actually 007 type of Tomb Raider-esque view. Third part, I guess I would put it as.
True.
Yeah.
Well, this, again, just proves to me that this NVIDIA announcement once again proves that Linux is a first-class citizen now for gaming. The fact that NVIDIA went out of their way to make an app for GeForce Now is saying something. First on the Steam Deck and now for desktop. So that's a big deal.
There's no doubt the impact that Linux has had in gaming, thanks to Valve, Steam, Wine, Codeweavers, all of those folks there.
Proton.
CES has had some exciting things. None of it I can afford except one of these. The one thing I found at CES that's been announced so far that I can afford is called the Lollipop Star. It's music you can taste.
Yeah.
It's a $9 lollipop that uses bone conduction technology, so you can feel the vibrations through your teeth and skull and hear music directly through your lollipop as you're eating it. Which makes me wonder, when we talk about e-waste and things, and then we're creating lollipops with circuits in them, you may kind of wonder, is this really a good
Well, don't you pop that lollipop back in another different flavored drink and pop it in the freezer and reuse it?
Yeah, that helps the batteries, right? When you put it in the freezer?
Or would the freezer wreck the circuitry?
I don't know. We're gonna have to get one, Zeb, and find out. I want a $9 music playing lollipop personally. So
can you imagine this on the next Destination Linux? If I come back and go, both of us are talking like this because it's the only way we can hear each other talking.
Yeah.
Put your
I don't think that'd go down well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Lenovo with their rollable ThinkPad, so it no longer just folds out; it actually the it gets bigger.
That's really cool.
The screen, really super cool.
And all the two double monitor laptops that are coming our way from Asus and the like. That'll be cool. That's something that's very functional.
But I remember those rollable screens being advertised quite a few years ago. So it's taken a while for them to come to the commercial market. And there's that. I think there's that huge monitor as well that you can just grab and flex it and bend it into a bendy monitor. There's no way I would get one of those because my luck it'd be bend. Oh, too far. That's it.
Crack.
$2,000 down the tube. Yeah.
Poor Zeb.
Yeah. That's how you know someone's been around technology a long time, when you're just like, no, just give me the basic hard monitor. I'm good. I don't want all the rolly crap. It reminds me of Samsung's new trifold phone that you can scratch the inside of it with your fingernail. It's a great idea. You can unfold this phone and you got a 10-inch tablet. Really cool. But then people are rubbing their fingernail across it and it's permanently scratching the screen. I'm like, there's no use case for this if it's that weak to me. Who wants to walk around with something that delicate on you daily that costs $2,500, by the way? I don't get it. I love the idea of the technology, but a lot of this stuff seems like it should still be in the lab and not necessarily out there for public consumption.
Similar technology, but a different slant on it. Have you seen the latest 1+1 phone cases? Or the 1+10 or 1+11 phone cases, where you can physically scratch them with a key and then get a cloth and it just wipes off.
And wiped it down. Yeah.
It's got some sort of nanite material in it. So
it does.
They're thinking of innovative stuff all the time. So maybe they'll come along. And it's a shame they're banned, but the Huawei trifold phone is
incredible.
That thing's ahead of time.
Yeah.
I think Samsung's got the market share, but Huawei may have the better technology for sure out of those options, based on the reviews I've seen. And one you're going to love, Zeb. Last thing I'll mention at CES, and maybe we'll have an episode where we talk about all the things that launched coming up. But the iPolish digital nail polish, which allows you to change your nail color instantly via an app using press-on digital nails and a small printing machine. So, Zeb? Get those nails ready, my friend.
I think they'll work nice, and as long as they can mix in with the freckles, I'll be fine.
You know how dope it would be though if they had those. That I would probably have some DL logos on my nails.
Man, that would be just superb.
You could rock that. That would be awesome. All right. Very good. So there's one more thing I want to talk about, and this kind of goes back into the GPU and our kind of GPU episode here.
Yeah.
And really we're going to talk about some things of why I think this way, but really it's about asking what Intel's future in open source is going to be. So for those who've been listening to the show a long time, you might remember a time where we were talking about a new distribution back then called Clear Linux. This distribution was created by Intel with the sole purpose of basically being able to squeeze every ounce of performance from x86 hardware that it could from a distro. It was a really cool and novel idea. It drove a lot of innovations and even made other non-Intel systems faster. AMD benefited from it. It was very, very cool. Never really took off a lot from a user perspective because it really wasn't meant as a daily driver, but from a developer standpoint and being able to kind of get different things from Intel and how to boost performance in Linux and all of that, it was fantastic. And then with NVIDIA, of course, dominating AI space and GPU space and AMD taking Intel's crown for desktop PCs, Intel's had a really rough year. No, really rough couple of years.
A couple of years, yeah.
So, Intel kind of had all of everything during the time Clear Linux was coming out. Intel was still kind of the dominant company when it came to CPUs and things. AMD was just coming up. But I remember Intel had some more arrogant comments and things about AMD and some of their competitors back then. They had been king for so long, but boy, have things changed. So unfortunately, Clear Linux didn't make the cut and is being sunset as a distribution. But thankfully, we have distros that are filling the gap like Catchy OS. And of course, Vanilla Arch, which is the perfect distribution, as you guys know, all the way around. And I was very upset that Zeb mentioned, I went to this distro, I went to that distro, but didn't mention Vanilla Arch. What gives, Zeb?
Well, because for you, Vanilla Arch is i3, and there's no way I'm using i3 again.
You mean I'm the i3 prodigy, as you know, which I haven't used i3 in probably 6 years since Zeb's been on the show. But that's unbelievable, Zeb. You didn't like i3? I don't remember. I thought you loved it.
The only thing that got me with i3, if you remember, is that you talked about this really cool wallpaper that's on your desktop the whole time. But the minute you open an application, it goes full screen, so you can't see the desktop. So you can't see your famous shortcuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because the wallpaper had the shortcuts on the wallpaper that was really, that was something. Going back to the Intel, it does raise concerns as Intel restructures. Do we start to lose that open source first approach that made them kind of the golden child of open source? Like Intel, like I said, was there before anybody else. And we know they've had cuts, and a lot of those cuts have been open source people who were contributing to open source roles and software. And one of the things that I think we forget as a community is that a lot of the developers that work on open source, they make their living off of corporations that hire them and then say, hey, go work on this cool thing, either 20% of your time or whatever, maybe full time. And that's how they're able to make a living. Because without that, they have families to feed. They have food to put on the table. They have electric bills to pay. They have computers they have to buy in order to do all this cool software development and stuff. They either rely on our donations or there's a company out there that is sponsoring them to do this stuff. And Intel did a lot of that sponsorship. In fact, I think they're a huge sponsor on Linux Foundation and all kinds of different open source foundations out there.
They've been one of the largest contributors to the Linux kernel for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Intel, I know Intel hasn't always been the best competitor out there. They, when they owned the world, they had the crown. There was I think anybody or any company gets in that position, you can kind of get cocky. Because you've owned it for so long. But there's so much good that Intel has done, and the employees at Intel, everyone that I've met is so genius and first class people like we've met at Scale and other conferences, just really great people that love open source. So I'm kind of scared that these layoffs have hit, and that there's already orphaned drivers and things that are now going to be left up to the community to take over, or they're going to remain deprecated. And many of these drivers are hardware and performance enablers. Some of the things that we've been really touting at the top of the hill is like, look how fast Linux is. There's not people to support those unless somebody in the community picks them up, which is kind of scary in a lot of ways.
I think one of the biggest problems as well is nowadays corporate groups and corporate identities are really focused on the profitability and the shareholders. And I don't want to say shareholders have got greedy, but I think they have. They are getting more than their fair share for what they input into the company, but every year they want more and more and more. So stuff that's not making them money but might be good for the look and feel of the company is getting dropped off. But let's hope Intel doesn't go that way, and let's hope somebody high up in the corporate structure has got that altruistic, let's keep doing this because it's for the betterment of society, not for your pockets.
Yeah. It's kind of madness, Zeb. Probably do a whole episode on that alone, but this whole every company has to make double its profits every single year kind of thing being pushed by investors is driving really companies to lose their entire foundation of why people like them in the first place. And it's really anti-customer in many ways, and it's nothing good has come from this push. Well, there's probably a few people who've benefited from it, but as a mass population, society hasn't gotten better since this push. And in fact, there was this really funny meme that somebody said, I don't know if it was a meme or a real conspiracy theory, but their concept was that the world actually, our timeline ended in 2006 and we were all pushed to a crappier timeline from 2006 forward. And I'm kind of like, you know what? That might be the best conspiracy theory I've heard yet, because it kind of feels like everything's crappier, not better in 2025, now 6. There's more disturbing trends with this from Intel. Kevork Ketchichian, which I know I'm slaughtering that name, sorry, who leads Intel's data center biz, believes it's time to rethink what Intel contributes to the open source community. They said, we have probably the largest footprint on open source out there from an infrastructure standpoint, said during the opening keynote that we need to find a balance of what we use that as an advantage to Intel and not let everyone else take it and run with it, which is, this is scary, because essentially what they're alluding to here is that, hey, we've donated all this stuff to open source and our competitors are using it to their advantage. And that's to our detriment. And maybe when we were number one and our competitors owned like 10% of the market, whatever. But now that we're fighting for our life, this becomes a big problem to just have all of our code on how we accelerate, the processors, how we interact with processor, GPUs, all that stuff out there for AMD and NVIDIA and everyone else to just go take. That's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. Yeah.
Part of me thinks, though, Jill and Zeb, that this is something that maybe licensing can fix.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
In a lot of ways, there are licenses that basically are fully permissible. I believe the MIT license is such, in which you basically, hey, you put the code out there, I'm saying you can do whatever the heck you want with it, no restrictions. And then there's other code out there that says, hey, you can use this code, but anything you add to it, you have to contribute back to the main source, or you have to give if you're adding anything to it or using, so there's a bunch of different licenses out there. And I wonder if that would help Intel here.
Yeah, I think it would have to. It would have. In fact, that's probably what they're going to be doing, right? Because they have, a lot of ideas that maybe should some of it be proprietary, so they can make some money on it at the same time, opening some code to the community. And they're probably going to have to do something like that, which is
and I think one of the problems is that lawyers have become that much cleverer nowadays, and that even though it might have the type of license that says you can use this to your heart's content, but you must give back to the community, people have still abused that, taken what they needed, put it back into the community as something totally different without anybody else seeing what changes they've made and made money on it. And they get away with it because nobody then wants to spend thousands and millions of pounds in court proving that they broke a license.
And it can hurt their reputation, right? We talked about in the pre-show, Zeb, I think you mentioned Red Hat and Rocky Linux as an example, right? Where, Red Hat still publishes their source code, but they used to do it on like a public website. Now you have to log into RHEL to get to the code. And I don't know that they've actually publicly ever said this, but a lot of people alluded that it was because of companies like Rocky Linux and stuff basically just cutting and pasting and then going around telling customers, we have a better version, even though it was basically
the same
code. Again, allegedly, speaking of which, of lawyers, allegedly, those are the things that people were saying could possibly be happening there. So, other companies have faced this as well. And what happened when Red Hat did that to attempt to protect their code from whatever, whether it was Rocky or some other reason, is people immediately jumped on Red Hat's back and was like, oh, how dare you? You're no longer open source, first and blah, blah, blah. And so it's a really difficult balance.
It's a delicate tightrope.
Yeah, it is. It's really that protecting their intellectual property, but at the same time being open to the community.
Yeah. So I don't know that we're going to have a solution here for that kind of stuff on the show. I wish, maybe people in the community and stuff, if Intel really does need to get back to the foundation of working with the community and things. And I've just been so impressed with Intel. I built an all Intel build recently, which is a very big departure from my AMD Red days when Zeb was on and all I talked about was AMD.
Yeah.
So, I'm on Team Blue right now and it's good to be on Team Blue. I'm enjoying it. And I actually have a video out there showing the B580 GPU, which, let me tell you, this card punches so far ahead of its class at $249.
Yeah,
it is just such an impressive, as Zeb would say, piece of kit.
Yes.
Look at this beautiful piece of kit right here. $249 for an Intel Arc. Just a really beautiful, solid card. And I was playing Diablo on 2 4K monitors. I was streaming in OBS to YouTube Live, all on this $249 card. So there's something to be said about what Intel can produce when they put their mind to it.
Yeah. You remember, Ryan, when I got my Intel Arc A770, I was one of the first people that I got it. I put my name in on that really early, so I got one of the first cards out for the public, and it has been amazing. The drivers just kept getting better and better. Gaming is spectacular. I've been able to play 5 and 6K on a lot of games with that card.
I love it.
And
that's amazing.
Every time there's an update, it's even faster. It's even faster. I'm getting more FPS from games, and it's just I'm so looking forward to the Battle Mage card that was just announced, the B770, which will be an upgrade to my A770 Intel Arc. And I'm hoping, because they're saying it'll be 16 gigs or higher, I'm hoping it'll be 24 gigs.
Yeah, well, with the prices of RAM, we'll be lucky if it's over 2 gigs at this point. Oh, good Lord.
But I watched your stream and you doing all your testing and everything with the B580, and that was wonderful.
What a card. What a card. All right, well, before we go, because we're way over time, but here's the thing. We absolutely could not have Zeb on this show and not do gaming reviews, because for those who've been with us from the beginning, you know that Zeb loves gaming. He's a gamer. And he especially loves pixelated games. Like, that's his favorite. I don't want to speak for Zeb, but I will, on this rare occasion, just put these words in Zeb's mouth that he loves pixelated games. If it's pixelated, he's playing it. So, in honor of you being here, Zeb, as my great friend all the way across the pond, I put my thinking cap on, and it didn't fit right, so I put on a regular cap, and then I found the perfect game. Well, multiple games for us to talk about here. And the first game, Zeb, like, you're gonna World of Warships or World of whatever you play, you're just gonna throw it away after this. This game is unbelievable. It's called Cruelty Squad. Now, Zeb cannot say that I picked a crap game for the sake of picking a crap game, because this game is rated as overwhelmingly positive on Steam with 18,000 people saying so. So you can't say that you can't say it's not so. See, Zeb, because 18,000 people said it's so.
But what Steam never tells you is that 118,000 said it wasn't so. They never show you how many people on the headlines. So, yeah, I mean, introduce the two games and then I'll give you my take on them.
Okay, all right. Okay. So Cruelty Squad describes itself like this: an immersive power fantasy simulator. I got sweats. I got game sweats just talking about this. Fantasy simulator with tactical stealth elements set in a sewage-infused garbage world. So it's like being on Earth. Garbage world. So it's set in modern day society, basically. Cruelty Squad is a tactical first-person shooter, hardcore gig economy of corporate liquidations. You know, it is 2026. You're an emotionally dead combat substance-fueled grunt of Cruelty Squad, a depraved subsidiary company tasked with performing wet works for its host conglomerate. Will you make the corporate Arch is in there, that's why I like it too, a demoness proud, or succumb to bitter tears of failure? So right off the bat, unbelievable, right? What an opener.
Okay, well, let's start with Ryan's first pick.
Okay.
And I use that term tentatively, as I'm sure he asked a local farm to borrow a donkey to help him pick his game. It states, and I'll quote what the game is saying: an immersive power fantasy simulator with tactical stealth elements set in the sewage-infused garbage world. Never was the saying garbage in, garbage out more true. I thought it was attempting to be a Doom clone, but the graphics are so bad I could not make out what was being shot at. I promise you, at one time there was a swathe of profiteroles cascading over the screen, which I think was meant to depict smoke. As for the characters, think of the worst real-world facial plastic surgery disasters and quadruple it. I could have almost forgiven it if it had just been pixelated, but this was so bad. And some of the soundtrack that went with the game would have been better recorded off an old stylophone. Wait, we have gone fishing to earn some money. No, hang on, we're back to Goom, like shooting things. No, wait a minute, we're on a mission to kill the CEO. Too late, you should have been topped before this game was even launched. Next.
Now, Zeb, here's my take on it. I love the artistic quality of it because I love abstract and surreal games. So for me, this is my jam.
I love the polar opposite views here. Zeb just, oh my gosh, you like wrote a novel. Like this is like Stephen King level of writing from Zeb on how much he hated the game. And then Jill finding the good in it, no matter what. No matter what, Jill will find the good in it. All right. Okay, so you didn't like Cruelty Squad. Maybe it was too much like 2026 in the garbage world thing. So my next pick, though, this one's a true winner for sure. 100% got this. It's called Pizza Tower. So step aside World of Warships. This is for real gamers. Pizza Tower is a fast-paced 2D platformer with an emphasis on movement, exploration, and score attack, featuring highly stylized pixel art, which Zeb loves, inspired by cartoons from the 90s, and a highly energetic soundtrack. Now, Zeb was born in the 90s, so I know he loves cartoons from the 90s as well. In this game, You are Peppino Spaghetti, a surprisingly agile, middle-aged Italian man trying to destroy a giant sentient pizza tower to save his restaurant. I was like, that's Zeb. Zeb is a middle-aged Italian man. Right? You're in Italy, right, Zeb? Is that right? Italy?
Apparently, according to old hosts that have been on the show, yeah.
It's loud, frantic, and pixel art is chaotic and gross out style. Think Ren and Stimpy. It is widely considered one of the best platformers. Widely considered, Zeb, one of the best platformers ever made. Drop my mic. If I didn't have my mic on a stand, I'd drop my mic. What did you think about this one?
Well, this one's going to be a lot shorter than the last review because this one's easier to talk about. Yeah. So the energetic soundtrack that is even more annoying than the Walls ice cream adverts from the 80s featuring just one cornetto, or the opera singing Go Compare adverts. It would not surprise me if he had a hand in the programming of this game too. Seriously. The main character is simply moving too fast and too many things happening for any of the effects to be actually visible to allow you to marvel at the highly pixelated art. A resounding next.
Wow. Wow, Zeb. You mean I am 0 for 2 here?
Oh, no, you're 2 for 2 in able to get out of me such scathing reports as you knew would happen.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm innocent. I picked 2 games that are overwhelmingly loved by the community. Jill, did you get a chance to check out Pizzagate?
Yes, and I liked it. I thought the well, it's higher. It's supposed to be higher resolution than Garbage World. The graphics are higher resolution, so because they're 90s. But it is very Ren and Stimpy looking. Now, I agree with Zeb. It's too fast for my vision. So I couldn't. It's too hard for me to play. Too much
going on.
Yeah, too much little going on, and the characters are small, and so it's
and
not
I guess the final blow, if I may, for me was neither of these games was free. And they actually wanted 15 squiddles for it.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 squiddles. I can buy my own large pepperoni or pineapple pizza.
I love it.
And get more enjoyment out of that.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Zeb, boy, I miss you doing gaming. Man, what a privilege. Well, listen, for those of you who never had the honor of having Zeb on as a host, this is what you get. He is just so much fun. Zeb, thank you for coming on this show and doing a guest host spot. We really appreciate it. We've missed you so much, and this is Jill's first chance to work with you, but it's an honor. That's all I can say.
I know. I love it. So awesome. Yeah, I've been on here now over 5 years. And can you believe that, Zeb? It's been that. For you, it's over 6 years.
Yeah. And I would just like to say it has been an honor to be invited back. And it's just reminded me of all those things that I love about the Linux community and love about being able to chat about my experiences. And it's been fantastic. So thank you very much.
Oh, we love you, Zeb. Yay, and I finally got to host with Zeb.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Love you.
Yeah, and he does charge for autographs, though, Zeb, or Jill, like a lot. Like when we would go to conference, when we had him in the U.S., Michael and I would be like $5. Zeb wanted $150 for his autograph. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
Like, well, that was only for you and Michael. And Jill
that was just for us.
Jill can have it for free.
Oh, look at that. Oh, of course. Jill gets everything free. It's ridiculous. Well, a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. And you can come join us in our Discord. And also, you can check out all of the amazing shows that we have here. We've got Linux Out Loud that you can go and watch. We've got the Linux Saloon out there. You've got This Week in Linux. There's so many cool things out there. So, Jill, I feel like we got to have Zeb do the ending. Like it's
Absolutely.
only appropriate for Zeb to do the very ending. So if you could sign us off, Zeb.
Okay, everybody, have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay!
Zebedee boss!
We did it!
Yes!